Hey weirdos, this is Evan Jarvix with Make Oklahoma Weirder, and this is our local music vlog for the week. I'm actually recording this on Friday morning as I'm going to work because I neglected to record it last night. So I apologize for the delay there, but things came up. Anyway, local music vlog. I'm going to jump into Plaza Fest, which happened last weekend. I talked a bit about it last week on the vlog, but I wanted to recap because at the very least, there were some things that I wasn't quite anticipating being as cool as they were. In particular, I think the stages this year were the best they've ever been. This is the first year that Plaza Fest had 3 outdoor stages. They did have 3 stages last year, but one was an indoor stage, and a lot of people didn't even know it was there. But this year, there was the main stage, which is always in that parking lot across from the Lyric, and it was on like a full-size stage. Like, if you've ever been to Norman Music Fest and you know about how big that Depot stage is, which is like the second biggest stage there, that's about how big the main stage was here. Now, it wasn't as loud. You didn't have the wall of speakers, but you did still have, like, you know, the presentation was there, and the banners were there and everything. It was really nice to see some major acts like Original Flow and St. Loretto and Adam and Kizzy on that stage. Now, I mentioned that the speakers weren't as stacked out, and I think that's probably because that stage faces the Lyric pretty directly head on. It's not going down a street. It's like if you were to blast that thing out, it would hit right into that building and bounce off it and just create all kinds of noise. Not to mention that there was a musical going on at the Lyric during Plaza Fest, so that probably would have been a cacophony as well. And I know that there were a couple of insiders that were really pushing to have a stage like in the street to kind of help avoid that situation, but maybe next year. They're definitely making some good strides, so kudos to the folks of Plaza Fest for making that happen. I got to see all kinds of great music, and it sounded as good as it ever has out there, thanks to them having the Toucan people, the production people from Toucan, as opposed to maybe some of the folks they've worked with in the past. Anyway, I saw a lot of great acts. There were some Tulsa bands that came down too. That was really cool. Zunis, finally got to see them. Got to catch a little bit of Keezy Cuts and world culture music. There was a lot of good stuff. I really like Split Personality. I've been wanting to see them for a while. Finally got to catch them. They didn't have a huge crowd. There weren't a lot of people that were kind of out to see them that early in the day, I guess. And I know a lot of people had probably seen them before, but I hadn't. And I do kind of want to mention them because they kind of made a note about, even when it's like, one person is showing up, like every time they perform, they go 100, with that nice little 100 emoji. And it was true. I mean, they had like the color smoke bombs, and they had confetti cannons, and I mean, they did all kinds of cool stuff, choreography, and it was just, I was impressed with, how hard they went for like very few people having showed up for their particular time slot. It was kind of an awkward one. I mean, it was like just after lunch. So, like, I know some people were still kind of coming in for the evening. Some people probably leaving from the noon time. So, anyway, your efforts did not go unnoticed by me. And that's why sometimes maybe I like that philosophy. I think, even if you are just playing for 1 or 2 people. And it got bigger as they went on. I mean, they pulled, at least a dozen people by the end of their set. But you never know who's watching. You never know who's going to spread the word. And I've already spoken highly of them and told people, hey, if these guys want to play at any events, like, please book them because they are solid. So, like, I'm trying to spread the word on that. And, I mean, there were plenty of other great acts as well, but I just wanted to kind of single that one out in particular, just because they were the only ones that I saw that really brought, like some of that stage presence with, like, the props and stuff, and really brought that energy in spite of, you know, not having pulled a crowd at that particular time slot. Anyway, but yeah, that's something I wanted to mention. Speaking of hip-hop, we got a couple releases today. It is Friday morning as I'm recording this. I haven't heard it yet because it just dropped, but Latroy Mac has a new project out. Very curious to hear it. Don't really know that much about Latroy Mac. I saw him about a year ago at Hubbly Bubbly, which, if you don't know Hubbly Bubbly, please check that out, especially if you're into hip-hop, because that's kind of become a center, almost like a headquarters for Oklahoma City hip-hop music. They have a competitive open mic every month called The Art of Rap, and I went to one about a year ago where Latroy Mac was the winner, and then he proceeded to, like, whenever you win that, you get some money, and then you also get a slot on the, I think it's money, I don't remember. You get a prize of some sort, and then you get, sorry, I'm trying to change lanes. There we go. And then you get a slot on the Heart of Hip Hop showcase, which also happens once a month. So if you're not paying attention to Hubbly Bubbly, I mean, that's where legends are made. And Latroy Mac has this new project dropping. I haven't heard really anything from it. I know one of the producers on at least one of the tracks is Worm, who I follow quite a bit. Worm, of course, rides with a lot of people like LTZ, and put out a really cool kind of compilation album earlier this year called To Go Plate, and I know Latroy Mac was on that. Yeah, I'm curious to hear it. I'd really like to hear it, but that is something that's dropping today. Also, Shawn Reedy, he's got his new EP drops today, and I have listened to that. I mentioned him last week, and I might have done him a bit of disservice in retrospect, because for some reason I keep thinking about him as like hip-hop meets kind of like this emo thing. But listening to this new EP, that may not really be the case, and I don't think he necessarily even identifies with that. More so than anything, there's a moment on this new EP where he talks about there's a quote or a sample or something that says, you take the beat away and it's just poetry. And that's pretty true, especially as someone who is decently aware of the Oklahoma slam poetry scene. Yes, there is one. Well, there's a couple, actually. But I know some slam poets, and one of the growing trends out there sometimes is kind of including singing in your slam poetry. And so I kind of really think like the lines are starting to blur between what poetry and music is, and I find that exciting. And I think his raw delivery on a lot of this stuff is very emotional, very heartfelt, and I like that he doesn't hide behind like auto-tune and stuff. Like he's very much himself. Everything he does is a very true and direct expression of what he's dealing with at any given time. I'm just about out of time here. I want to shout out the Dojo real quick. If you haven't seen my video on the Dojo, it's a great hardcore venue out in Midwest City. They have a showcase coming up tomorrow with like 10 bands. A lot of them are regional. Check it out. It's really great. Also want to shout out Groovefest. Thank you, Groovefest, for reaching out to me. I miss you every year, Groovefest. You always sneak up on me, and I never see you coming. But they got a lot of great music happening. And if you don't know, it's been around in Norman for a long time. They kind of combine live music with live speakers who speak on social issues and like environmental issues and justice issues and all this good stuff. So lots of great performers there. Check it out.